Hello, 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 fine people of WordPress land. How are we doing today? We got Patrick in the house, Antonio. We are back to 4K streaming. We're not dealing with that nonsense at StreamYard today. Okay, we got a good stream for you. You're gonna be able to see all the text today. Don't worry, don't worry. Richard in the house, Larry, Tommy, Paul, D123. Good to see you guys. These live streams are always the highlight of my day. We're going to be doing some heavily requested things today. You know, templates is always one of those. Kevin, we gotta do some templating things. I don't understand the templating side of things. Well, if that is you, we are going to make it happen today. We are going to bring clarity to your confusion, and we're going to hopefully have some fun doing it. I do want to say that we have a little bit of an announcement, okay? I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. We now have officially released automatic CSS for Figma, the brand new experience. If you watched my live stream a week or two ago with Tommy, he was showing and demonstrating the new automatic CSS for Figma. Of course, you don't have to go back and watch that entire stream. There is a handy dandy little video right here that's only 8 minutes long, and you can watch that and you will be completely up to speed on the new automatic CSS workflow inside of Figma. This is just a fantastic, some would say game-changing approach to using Figma. If they were going to use overused terminology, that's what they would say. But it doesn't make it any less true. Let's keep that in mind. It doesn't make it any less true. And with this, I will turn to Bernie Sanders.
Asking for your financial support.
It played that in the middle for some reason. That's just terrible timing. Let's try that one more time. Bernie, are you there?
I am once again asking for your financial support.
Okay, so that's it. We have a new product. Now, I'll answer some questions about this real quick. Is this going to be, because you remember this used to be, the old version of this used to be bundled with frames for Figma. It's not bundled anymore. Now, if you bought that license a long time ago, you're going to get this automatically. You don't have to pay again. Don't buy it again. You just get it, okay? Because that's how we roll. But if you're thinking about buying it now, you buy it. It's a standalone thing. And the cost of frames for Figma is going to be reduced because it's no longer going to have automatic CSS inside of it. Okay, so if you could buy this as a standalone, you can use it as a standalone. Frames for Figma is not required. And I would recommend doing that, okay? If you haven't already purchased it, recommend doing that. Then make a separate decision on frames for Figma. But watch the video. This is now available as a standalone product. It's fantastic. I can also give you a quick update on ACSS version 4.0. Essentially, the entire framework is mostly done. There's two areas that are waiting, and they were waiting on dashboard updates. And the dashboard updates were waiting on resources being freed up from Etch, essentially, because they required some major work. Switching from HSL to OKLCH was one of those things. They required massive, like an entire color library switch, because the library we were using does not support OKLCH, so that all had to be basically stripped out and put a new library in and get that all configured properly. Then the framework has to be reconfigured as part of that, and that's one big thing that was waiting. That, I can say, is getting wrapped up right now. Okay, so that's a big step forwards. And then we're looking at potentially implementing a completely new way to do dark and light mode, because the advancements in CSS have presented a new pathway for that. And to make an official call on it, I have to do a lot of experimenting and testing. It would be using the light dark function. If you're not familiar, there's a new light dark function. Looks to be fantastic. But it's a completely different workflow. It's a completely different workflow than globally changing from one color to another color when somebody requests dark mode or whatever. Big architecture shift would take place if we were to implement that. So we got to look at it. And I'm taking I'm not trying to rush. I'm trying to take extra time because we're essentially with ACSS 4.0 saying, remember, it's not backwards compatible, right? We don't have to worry about that. We're essentially saying this is automatic CSS 4 era 4. And so we want to make sure that we don't drag some era 3 things into ACSS 4, right? So we need to be a little bit careful. We need to be a little bit patient. We need to take a little extra time and just make sure that we're nailing it so that when we release 4.0, we don't immediately have to like go refactor some area, right? So just be patient with it. It is like right on the cusp. There's the OKLCH thing. Once that's done, it's literally the light dark stuff is all that's left. And I just need a little time to make sure we choose the right pathway for that. Okay. We will get right into what we need to do. Figma's on fire. Yes, it is. Okay, good. I'm just checking the chat real quick. Zach, welcome. All right, so let's go ahead and dive in. Questions, #Q. Demos, if you have a specific like, hey, can you demo this? And keep in mind, we are talking, it needs to involve templating, okay? Unless we get to the very end and there's still some time left over, which usually never happens. We can demo some random things, but if you want me to demo something, do #demo, #demo, and try to be as clear as possible on what you want me to demo. Okay, man, we have almost 250 people watching. This is fantastic. It's fantastic. Let's just get into it. So I'm gonna hit edit with Etch. This is a brand new install. There's really nothing here, okay? There's a hello world. There's a home page, no CPTs, no custom fields, ain't got no media, and templates are just kind of what's here by default. So let's start with index. We start with index because index is where you should always start. If you get the index, remember what index is. It's a catch-all template. It's essentially, oh, WordPress sees you have no other template defined for whatever area we happen to be looking at. It is going to use the index template. It's going to fall back to the index template. And then when you create new templates, your new templates are going to use the index template as their default starting point, okay? So it always makes the most sense to do index first. So I'm going to hit edit on index, and that's going to bring me in here. Now, if you're using the Etch theme that we give you, like this template should essentially be done for you. In terms of having a main element, in terms of having a content slot. If you're not familiar, the content slot, which can be added with this little purple button down here, this is the slot button. You can change it to whatever you want. Like it doesn't have to be content, but it's content by default. That dynamically pulls WordPress content. So whatever is sitting in Gutenberg, that is going to be pulled in via the content slot, okay? Which since Etch authors everything to Gutenberg, that is in terms of an index template, that is whatever your page, whatever you built will render inside of this main tag, okay? Now, in our index template, we are going to put our header and our footer, typically. For those of you who are coming from other systems where headers and footers are called templates, it's very important for you to understand that those those environments are wrong, okay? A header is not a template. A footer is not a template. A hero is not a template. These things are not templates. These are either patterns or they are components, okay? But they are definitely, most certainly, not templates. And anybody that calls them templates is wrong. And I do have a great, if you go to geary.co/blog, this is kind of mandatory reading probably for everybody at some point in time. Let's see if we can find it. Understanding component. Here we go. A call for better naming conventions in page builders. And we go through literally all the things that are called the wrong things so that you can learn how to call them by their correct name. And then we can all speak the same language. And then there will be way less confusion. All of the confusion, by the way, for those of you who are feeling like, this is a lot, like a lot of this is confusing, Kevin, in WordPress land. I agree. And a lot of the confusion comes from people calling things the wrong things. And then, of course, everybody's confused. Why? I mean, that's just every part of life you are going to be confused if we use the wrong terms for whatever we happen to be talking about at the time. All right, so with that said, let's go ahead and create our header. Now, you can also, if you are in the Etch community, you come into freebies. Now, in the freebies area, people can create whatever they want. I've created a couple things and put them in as freebies. A bunch of people have offered a bunch of different freebies, but you might be able to find like I put a sticky header component in here. And you could just copy the JSON for that sticky header and you can paste it in. I also want to make an announcement today, another announcement. If you go to patterns.etchwp.com. Now, keep in mind, this is the work in progress of all works in progress. It is not anywhere near done. It literally got started days ago, okay? And it's whatever I've been able to throw together since then. But you can read the headline for yourself. Free patterns for Etch, so you never have to start from scratch. And you can go to Browse Layouts. I'll just do this real quick. And we can choose a category to view available patterns. We have 2 categories because this is a severe work in progress. Mostly it was a proof of concept, okay? Can I build the patterns? Can I loop through the patterns? Can I put the patterns in an iframe? Can I make the iframe responsive? Can I create a copy to code button? Can I get the JSON to actually pass through into that copy to code button? All of these things. These were, I had to make sure we could do all that, which I've now verified that I've been able to do, which means we can actually start populating the site with more stuff now. But for example, I will click on hero and it'll say, hey, browse hero patterns, all dynamic data. This is all templated. This is all fantastic. Okay. Here you see Hero Bravo. This is not a screenshot. This is a live representation of Hero Bravo. You can grab this sidebar over here and you can even see how it is responsive, okay? That's very nice. You can come up here, you can copy, you can go paste this right into Etch, and you will have Hero Bravo sitting in Etch. And here's Hero Alpha, okay? You can do the exact same thing. Ignore the fact I'm logged in, so this ACSS icon is gonna load inside the iframes as well. You won't see that when you go to this site because you won't be logged in. So just, ignore that part. Back to categories, we can go to footer. Hey, there's footer alpha right there. And they also, by the way, have little components inside of them. So like this intro right here, can I draw on my screen? Dude, this thing that comes up every single time. That's a component and it's got a lot of cool options that come along with it. If we go to the footer, right? This clear is a little social, and I'm gonna release that separately, but that's a really cool little social component. Not done yet, I should say, not done yet, but it's got some, and actually this footer is a component. We can take a look at that in just a minute and see the variations that well, no, let's just do that right now. I'm sorry, this is a little bit of a tangent, I understand, but this is too fun. It's too fun to skip over, okay? We gotta, people wanna see these things too. So let's launch Etch. Let's go into patterns. Let's go to layouts and go to footer alpha and go into edit with Etch. Okay. And let's take a look. So check this out. So I can come in here and I can say, let's say we wanted a minimalist footer. Maybe I'll try to copy and paste this into our little demo for today. But let's say I want a minimalist footer. Bang. Now I have a minimalist footer. Okay. So the bulk of the footer goes away. And I just get that. Maybe that's what I want on like a landing page or something like that, okay? Let's do that. Let's just say, no, I just wanna hide the nav. So I want this entire footer situation going on, but I just wanna hide the nav. And when I hide the nav, all this centers up, looks nice and clean, and that's like a typical CTA style footer. And I can still customize all of this content. It's fantastic. This is not done yet, by the way, this component. Again, all of this is work in progress, proof of concept stuff, but it's like you're gonna get a lot more. Gone are the days of we have 8,000 patterns. No. I don't care if you have 8,000 patterns. I want you to have the smartest patterns. I want you to have the most flexible patterns in terms of components and how they're really thought out and configured so that I can have variations among all these things with just a couple clicks of a button. That would be more fantastic than having 8,000 patterns where it's like, hero with the image on the right, hero with the image on the left, hero with 2 paragraphs, hero with 1 paragraph, hero with 1 sentence, hero with a form, hero with a, no. That's I'm sorry, that's an era 3 game. And we're not gonna play that game anymore. We want intelligent libraries with intelligent patterns and intelligent components. And we're not gonna care all that much about quantity, okay? Let's go down and see. Build something similar to Metabox and bricks with my footers. Oh, good, fantastic. All right, nice. Just checking chat real quick. Yeah, see, this is the internet. These 2 comments are literally sitting right next to each other. So we've got this one, Android, I love tangents. The Hunzi, fewer tangents. This is my entire life, okay? If you wonder why sometimes I feel a little stressed, that is a good reason why. Okay, all right, here we go. Let's go back to templating. So you guys saw the fun, okay? Bookmark that site. It's gonna continue getting bigger and better and more detailed, more options. All right, let's get rid of that. And we're back. Okay, let's build a header from scratch. So I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna build a section, but the section is going to get, and I'll zoom in up here so everybody can see, a header tag instead of a section tag. It's essentially the exact same structure, but it's a different tag. That's all it is. And then what we're gonna do here is inside of this container, we'll just throw in a logo. So we'll go with an SVG. That's gonna put the Etch logo in by default. We'll call that logo. And let's go ahead and right click and yeah, of course, allow, okay, create component. And we can name this header. And now we have a header component. Now how you structure your header component, whether you use slots, whether you use whatever, whether you put a nav in there, that's not the point of this tutorial. The point of this tutorial is how are we building out these templates, okay? So I have a header situation here, and now I'm going to, let's see if we can add the footer. Let's see if that'll work. Let's go browse layouts. We may not get all the options we want because it's not completely done, but there's my footer, okay? And I'm gonna go like that, and then we're gonna edit this footer and just see what's going on with our background, okay? We'll just take that out. Excellent, nice. And then this one, we'll just take that out. And now we have a dark footer. Look at this, And does everything work? Minimalist, hide nav, it's just beautiful. It's just gorgeous. So now we have a footer and we have a header, and then our main content with our slot is sandwiched in between those 2 things. So what I'm gonna do now is I'm gonna save, and I'm gonna go to the front end, and you can see we have the let's get started. That's essentially on the home page. We have a header up here, and we have a footer down here that I didn't have to build, which is even better. It's just really nice, okay? And then we can see there, what is that? Maybe a social icon. This is driven by a little JSON loop. We won't get into all that. But yeah, let's keep going. So I do have a little OCD. So I'm gonna go in here, and I'm gonna call this header, and I'm just gonna add a class of header, and I wanna add a little bit of padding, okay? So we're gonna go padding block, and we're gonna go space M, all right? XS, make it a little bit smaller. And then what I wanna do is padding inline of gutter, okay? Padding inline of gutter. Oh, gutter. There you go. Gutter. Thank you. All right. Save. Fantastic. That solves my OCD crisis that I was just having. I was seeing the logo touching the top of the screen, and that just also stresses me out. Okay, so we got a header, we got our main, we got our footer. We are now ready to move. We're done with the index. That's it. That's all you got to do. We're done with the index template, okay? So now let's move on. I'm gonna close that. I'm gonna close that. I'm gonna go back. We're gonna go to templates, and we're gonna take a look. Let's do the 404 error page, okay? So what I'm gonna do here is I'm gonna go to a URL that doesn't exist. Probably don't want special characters in there. Let's do something like that. And you're gonna see that this is what you get out of the box, which to an actual user, a site visitor, very, very unhelpful. Very unhelpful. Doesn't look all that great, okay? So we need to make a template that when somebody puts in a URL that doesn't exist, they get a friendlier experience. That is what a 404 template is for. We're gonna go to 404 error page. We're gonna hit edit. We see the little 404 up there, okay? We're gonna open this. Actually, that I think comes from, yeah, that's just there by default, I guess, inside of WP's archetype. I don't really know. I don't know where that came from. We're gonna add a section. We can put a main on here. We need our main tag. It was already pre-made, so it's not gonna pull in my index template, but you will see that new templates that I create will pull it in. This is gonna be the inner. This is gonna be actually the inner we don't even need. We just need a main. And then I can put a section inside of that main. That'll probably be the easiest thing to do. And now what I might be able to do I have social share alpha, footer alpha, header, section? Okay, I don't have I didn't bring in a hero, so I don't have my intro. I'm not gonna bother building an intro component right now. Let's just do heading, text, and link. Let's say, oops, that page doesn't exist. It appears the page you were trying to access no longer exists. Please go home. Okay, you need to put in better copy. Let's go button primary and let's put in a URL of home. Then we can say this is gonna be, let's do a class here, 404 section. I think, that's not, I don't think, let's do 4. How about this? 404. There you go. That's hilarious. All right, let's go with, I just want to quickly do that, and let's go display, align items to the center, justify. That actually might get the job done. Okay, let's do at media. Let's do a media query and greater or equal to, let's see where we want to do this. Probably, let's just go 767. Okay, 767. All right, I'm going to take those align items, put them in the media query. Okay, so now essentially that should be, yeah, that goes left aligned on mobile, centered everywhere else. And then I want to do this 404. The reason I did that is so I can go like padding, block, and I can go like section space XL or XXL or something like that, okay? Let's go to the front end, refresh, done deal, okay? Oops, that page doesn't exist. I should probably, again, little OCD tweak here. Let's make that an H1. Not just OCD. I mean, it's important to be semantically accurate with your tags, right? Oops, that page doesn't exist. Pierce page you're trying to access no longer exists. Please go home. Click me. That takes people home. 404 page, done. Cross it off the list, okay? So you guys see what we're doing here, right? And this page, you can decide if you wanted to have a header or a footer. So let's say you're like, I do like, Kevin, for my things, my 404 page to have a header and a footer. So I can go header, and I can drag that and put it ahead, right? And then I can come in and I can say footer. Oh, I hit header again. I'll do footer, which is footer alpha, all right? I'm clicking I'm just clicking all over the fucking place. I literally, my mouse hit my coffee cup and made me click when I didn't want to click. Footer alpha, so there we go. So there's our header, main, footer, I can save. Now let's go back to a URL that doesn't exist. And boom, we now have a 404 with a header and a footer. See that? Okay. Now let's say this gives you the flexibility. Two things here, because I know a lot of people are like, I don't want to manually put in my header footer every single time I make a template. You don't have to. So when it's a brand new template, it's going to automatically have your header and footer in it because it's going to copy the index template. But what this gives you is the flexibility to say, well, I want the header, but not the footer. Now, in other builders, you have to do a lot of fancy conditional logic, and you have to do them on a page that's not this one because they don't actually live on this page because they're treated as templates themselves. And I already said they're not templates, they're components, right? And so I do have the ability to use conditional logic inside of these components if I want to. Or I just have the ability to be like, I don't want a footer on this template, so I'm just going to remove it. And then on my 404, I have a header, but I have no footer. See, I like that. That's so easy. I don't have to get into conditional logic rules to be like, oh, well, okay, my footer shows up everywhere, but not on the 404 and not on this page and not on this kind of post type and da-da-da. No, Like you're creating the templates for these areas. You have the flexibility to just remove the header or remove the footer. Or remember the reason that let's go to footer alpha, can say something like minimalist is because in this template, we can choose for the footer to be a minimalist footer and not the entire footer. So these are all the levers that we can pull. We have the component props that give us a variation of a component, and then the variations can be changed on a per template basis, right? So you see here, I'm using the minimalist version, whereas on my homepage, we still get the full version of the footer, right? On a landing page, I could say, oh, I want the call to action version. Okay, so we'll save. And then I'll go back to the 404 and I'm getting the call to action version of the footer, which if we were building a landing page, maybe that would be exactly what I wanted to do. This is tremendous flexibility. And I haven't shown you, but we also have the ability to do conditional logic inside of the components. So that would be another lever that you have to create additional flexibility. So you can do essentially anything that you want to do. Let me go back to the chat real quick. Did I lose anybody? Okay. I'll answer this real quick, even though it doesn't have a hashtag Q. Shame on you. Shame on you for no hashtag Q. You're lucky I saw this. If I didn't see this, it would have gone into the ether. It never would have been answered, okay? So let this be a lesson. If you're gonna ask a question, hashtag Q. Why is there a main tag? Because semantically, let me go back to home. Because semantically, your main content should be in a main tag. So if we're looking at our nice clean code down here, let's pull this up, okay? Look at this, I have header, main, footer. And inside my main, that's where my sections live. All right, so it's very nice and clean and semantic. All right, fantastic. Okay, Bricks has a toggle for that, show hide header footer on each page template. They do, however, it's not, just letting you know, it is way less flexible. It is way less flexible. And this can be shown on video, side by side, in various scenarios where you can't do what you want to do, and you constantly have to leave the thing you're working on to go back to the magic area of a header template that's not actually a template, and you have to do the logic there when you're not looking at the site, at the part of the site that the logic even applies to. It's not good. It's not a good experience. And this is far more flexible. When headers are components, they are infinitely more flexible. But we don't have time to do side-by-side comparisons today. Okay. How to add archive template. Okay, there's some hashtag Qs coming in. We'll get to those. Don't worry, don't worry. Okay, let's keep, I just want to make sure nobody was lost. Who came up with the name number 404? Probably some developer. No nav in header. Yeah, like I said, this is not a nav tutorial. You would put a nav in the header, yes. But this is a templating tutorial, and the fact that you can see that there's a header is all you need to know about the header and how we're doing the templating. Okay, so let's try to stay on task, right? On task. So far, what we've done, create an index template, create a 404 template. The next thing I'm gonna do, I'm gonna talk for just a second about pages and posts. If I click this single page template, I would highly, highly, highly recommend you just try your absolute honest best, give it a good college try to never touch in your entire WordPress career. I think I've gone, and this is a record that I'm very proud of. I have gone since 2005. I've never created a single page template. And I'm gonna keep that record going, you best believe, okay? I'm taking that record to the grave with me. If it's up to me, I'm taking that record to the grave. We had a big debate about how useful this actually is. And some people do think that it's useful. I was not convinced. And like I said, I've gone my entire career without ever creating one. And I think you should try to do the same. Because on a conceptual level, it just doesn't make a lot of sense. This is just WordPress architecture. It's 2005 WordPress architecture, by the way. You would make more arguments for this back back in 2005. But I'll just say I didn't need them then. I don't need them now. I certainly don't need them now. So I would just say avoid this. I would just not bother yourself with this kind of situation here. Now, single post, that's a different story. Now, to talk about this, I debated whether we should do this or not, because it kind of muddies the waters. I can make this very clear and simple and just, hey, here's how to create your single post template. But I want to go in and I want to talk about the concept of not using the WordPress default post type, okay? Because it has a major architectural issue. And I'll tell you what the major architectural issue is by going out here. Let's go to WP admin and let's create a custom post type in ACF, okay? Because I want to show you something very important. I'm going to make this say like services, okay? Service, services, service. Now, I'll make that plural. I'm going to say advanced configuration. I'm going to say URLs. I'm going to say archive because I do want it to have an archive page. I think everything else should be fine by default, so we will go ahead and save there. Fantastic. Get a little bit of water. Now, I go to services. If you're not familiar with this, this should be super simple by now. So I'm going to say service number 1. My eye is all twitchy. Okay, let's publish. Fantastic. And let's go view. Okay, so we have /services/service1. This is good architecture. This is what I would call silo-based architecture. You create silos of content types on a website. Makes the architecture way better, makes it easier to crawl, makes it easier to understand, makes it easier for users when they look at a URL. They can look at that URL and go, oh, I'm in the services section. I'm in the services section of this website, right? And if they want to get back to all of them, they do, even if you don't provide a navigation pathway, they can just remove part of the URL and get back to the base slug, right? They can do that on their own if they really needed to. Or when you have breadcrumbs and you want the breadcrumbs to be logical. This is good architecture. This is good architecture. Now look at this, posts. I want this to be /blog or /anything, anything. Let's click on this, view. Can't get it, can't get it. Now you're like, well, Kevin, you can get it. Guys, I've been around here, 2005. You don't have to act like I don't know, okay? You don't have to pretend. Of course I know. You're going to go to settings, you're going to go to permalinks, okay? And you're going to come down here and you're going to do something like this. And you're like, Kevin, that's how you do it. No, pause. I know you thought I didn't know, but maybe you don't know. Maybe you're the one that actually doesn't know, okay? If you do that, you're committing to every single post type you ever create having blog in the URL. There is no architectural way out of the box without a lot of funny business. You got to have a lot of funny business, okay, to make this happen. Because the architecture is bad. It's bad. It's bad WordPress architecture. Let's just call it what it is. It's bad architecture, okay? So the way that I often do it is I literally go in and I add new and I say blog, okay? Or I say post, but the post type key is blog, right? And I replace this with my own. And the reason being, I can control the slug, just like I can control the slug on the other custom post types. And then I hide this one, and I use my custom one. And if I do that, and then I go into Etch, this is why people are gonna be confused, this is why I explain it, okay? Let's say I do that, and I go in here, you're gonna see a whole new column called posts or blog or whatever. And that's where you would create your blog template. You would then ignore this single post right here. You would ignore this single post template. You wouldn't do that. You would come like here. See where I services, single services? I would have one for blog and I would do single blog and a blog archive. I would do all that, which by the way, it also, bad architecture, talking about bad architecture, this default doesn't have an archive. Womp, 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 womp. Where's my? Oh no. There's that would work.
I'm not mad. I'm just disappointed.
That one works too. I'm not mad. I'm just disappointed. WordPress, okay? Bad architecture. This custom, and literally this is as custom post type as you can get, right? Solves all the architectural issues. That's why I do it this way. But not everybody does it that way, and you probably have not been trained to do it that way, but I just wanted to cover that way, okay? Now, I'm not gonna do it that way for this tutorial. We're just gonna leave it because I don't care about the architecture on this site. So I need a template essentially for hello world, right? So we're gonna go view this and we can see, well, that looks terrible. And I can also go to website Ipsum. Let's get some content in here. Let's get some content. So let's take this, all right? Hello world. Let's go back and edit this post, edit. Okay, let's throw, oh, we have an automatic CSS. Okay, Gutenberg situation going on here. It's not an automatic CSS. Let me back that up. It's a Gutenberg issue because all the issues with Gutenberg are Gutenberg issues. We put our styles in a new layer, and Gutenberg, because it uses no layers and uses too much specificity and uses very old CSS techniques and very bad CSS techniques, overwrites our shit all the time. And causes, this is a dev ACSS install used for testing to find bullshit like this, but it is what it is, okay? Let's go back to the front end and see if we have content. So there's our content, right? Obviously we have no template for it. Like we don't want it to display like that. So we need to create a template for not just that post, okay? I wanna explain templating a little bit as we go. What if I had post number 2? And what if I put that in? And do you like how it works on this page and not the other one? Okay. So I have 2 posts now. Let's view this post. There's my second post, all right? It's not, remember, a blog post template is for all your posts. Right? It's not like for a post. It's any post I make should inherit the same exact template. So let's go in and let's create a template for it. We're gonna do that right here, single post. Okay, click that little button, and now we have a single post template. Let's go ahead and edit. And look, like I told you before, if you're creating a new template, doesn't already exist, it's gonna inherit your index template. So my header's already there, my footer's already there, my main is already there, my slot is already there. Problem is, I don't wanna bring the slot. Now let's just hit save and see what happens. So I haven't done anything, right? All I did was like, hey, let's create a new template. Let's just save and let's refresh. Let's go back to the front end. Okay, post 2, and hopefully okay. So that's fantastic. Let's see what happened. Let's go add this in. All right, slot. It could be a registration issue. Let's see. No, post 2. Let me reset our permalinks just in case. I was doing a lot of bullshit here. Okay, save. Okay, let's go back. We'll have to come back to it later if we can't figure out what is going on. I'm gonna try one more thing if it's not working. Okay, let's try one more thing. Let's go appearance, editor. Let's make sure it registered in FSE land. Okay, let's go to templates, all templates, index 404, home, search results, single post. Okay, I'm gonna delete it. Let's delete it. Okay. Let's go back. Let's see if we can create a new one. All right. Oh God, we're stuck in FSE. All right, there we go. Post 2. Let's view it. Okay, fantastic. Let's go into Etch. Let's see if we can get this to register. Single post pages. That all looks good. Services, taxonomies. Okay. Make sure I'm doing the right thing here. Let's save just in case. Let's hop over. Let's save. We do have a content slot. Okay, let's go back out. And let's go post. I want to see post hello world again. One thing that's bothering me is, okay, no, they're both acting the same now. Okay, that's interesting. I don't know what's up with the single post template on this particular site. Let's do the other architecture that I normally do. Let's go ACF and let's do the posts. ACF post type, let's go post. So we're gonna go post, blog. Okay, advanced URLs archive. Save, launch, templates. Here is, okay, let's delete that so it doesn't get in the way. Posts, single blog, save. Let's go ahead and jump to it. Okay, let's save that. And now what we're gonna have to do is we would not be writing our blog posts in our actual posts area. So I'm gonna trash these. And I have this new posts area, add new post, okay? Sample blog post. Do I have website Ipsum on my clipboard still? I do. Let's publish that, okay? And let's go view this on the front end. No, it's, okay. Sample blog, sample blog posts. What is it even doing? Where were we? Okay, let's go back. Unless I'm just like doing something absolutely stupid that somebody in the chat can see that I've done. Sample blog post, blog, sample blog post. Let's go here and look at this. Etch, post, post 2. Edit with Etch, templates, single post. There it is. Yeah, I mean, this is exactly the same. It's exactly the same. Let me go to the chat just so we can see if anybody saw ACF issue. It's not an ACF. It shouldn't be. There's sometimes are permalink issues in WordPress when you register new things. That's why I reset them. But it doesn't seem like it's a permalink issue. So let's go back to here, view. Let me go change the content so we can see exactly what we're looking at. This is, oh my God, come on. Like, let's go. This is my content that I can't even see. Save. Okay, it is literally showing. So it's bringing in the slot. Like the slot content is actually passing through. Okay, that's the post, templates, single blog, flex div, content. It just doesn't seem to care. Let's delete footer. Let's make this simpler. Let's make this simpler. Okay, let's close that. We don't need that. We don't need that. Let's go back to the front end. Okay, now we have the header. Okay, did I just not put a section in? Okay, I guess I was expecting to see something else. I think it's working. They might have both been working. Let's just put this in the section and refresh. Okay, we're back in action. We're back in action. I just thought I was seeing something I wasn't expecting to see, but actually it technically was what I was supposed to see. Okay. All right, so we have a section there. We have our slot content. Let's throw in a heading. All right. And then let's make it an H1, bang. And we're gonna talk a little bit about, let's put that in the container as well. So this would be my post title. We're gonna talk a little bit about dynamic data now, okay? All right, so there we go. We're in action. And this is the custom one. And you can see the architecture, /blog /sample blog post. Now I probably could also make the other one. Let's go close, close, close. Yep, close. Okay, there we go. So let's go back here. Let's go back to post. Can we revive one of these? Let's revive one of these out of the trash. Okay. And let's go back into Etch and let's go to the other. Let's grab this, copy. Okay. And let's go back to this post template, single post, edit, and let's pop that in. Save. Okay. And let's see if it's working now for this one. Probably need to publish it. Draft, publish, 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 and view. Okay, but they're both working. They're both working. I was just being an idiot, I think. I have to go review the tape. This is like I do my softball team, you know? I'm like, we gotta go review the tape, okay? You made a mistake. You made a mistake. All right, we're all working now. We're functional. And that's actually decent because I showed you how to do it both ways. So here's the default architecture way. Here is the custom architecture way. They both work. You choose which way you want to do it, okay? That's it. So let's go back into the template. Single post, let's do this one. I like the correct architecture one. Okay. And of course, we can't get to an actual URL. All right, that's fine. We're gonna have to live our life right here. And this is blog sample blog post. Okay, fantastic. So now what we're gonna do is we're gonna look and we're gonna see, obviously, this would be my post title, is not the post title. So what I'm gonna direct you to is docs, just because you should reference these things. If you go to templates or dynamic data, probably right here, just to the keys and read this section right here. Very important to understand. Templates, that's what we're working on right now. Use this .key. Loops use item.key. You've seen that before, okay? We are working in a template scenario. So any of this stuff that I want to access is accessed with this, right? I want to access the title of the item, right? So this dot title, sample blog post, save, go back, refresh, sample blog post. The content slot's pulling the content. This dot title is going to pull the title. If you want to do featured image, it's this dot featured image. If you wanted to do any of that data that's accessible, this dot whatever the key of the data is, okay? We can come back and spice this up in a minute, but this is your single post template. And what I'll do is I'll show you that if I go to post down here, okay, there's that one we already saw. I'm going to add a new one, and I'll say this is another blog post. Maybe this one has a featured image, which I don't even have any images on here, so I guess it won't have one for right now. We can add it later. And let's go look at it. So there's another blog post. And then if I put content here, it should show up. Let's save that. Take a trip back to the front end. If I put content here, it should show up. What if I decide, hey, I really do want my footers on my blog posts, okay? Drop footer alpha in here and put the main in between them. Let's go ahead and hit save and let's refresh. And now we have a footer on our blog post. It only wasn't there before because I removed it. I just decided to add it back. Now it's back. So that's the flexibility that gives you on every single template type. So to review real quick, we have done index, 404, 2 different single post templates, depending on the architecture that you want to do. And if we do services, you're going to see that services is very, very similar. So we have a custom post type called services. Here's what you need to determine on your custom post types. Do I want every service page to look exactly the same? All the structure, and maybe you're going to do custom fields or whatever for the actual data of them. Or do I want them to all be unique? Or do I want them to be half and half? Maybe I want them to all have the same hero section, but then dynamic below that. There's a lot of different combinations of things that you can do. What I often do is I don't template things like service pages. I want them to all be kind of unique depending on the service that I'm trying to sell. I might have different layouts. I might put things in different order. I might do a lot of things differently. So I leave it open. If you want them to all be the same, create a single services template. That's why it's called a single service, applies to all of them, and then they're all going to look the same. And you use dynamic data to populate them, and you're off to the races. If you want to use unique data on all of them, then what you're going to do is not do that. You leave it alone. You leave it alone. You don't create a template for it. Okay, so how would this work now if I want every service page to look different? I go to services, okay? I'm going to do this in WordPress because I used ACF. So I'm going to go back to the back end and I'm going to go to services. In the future, obviously, you would do this all through Etch. Just create your CPT in Etch, create all your posts in Etch, yada, yada, yada. I'm using ACF for this. So I'm going to say add new service, and I say service number 1, and I say publish, and I say edit with Etch. And now I'm able, and you could still use patterns, and you could still use components, and you could still do whatever you want, okay? Or like let's just look at what happens, okay? So let's do maybe I don't even know what section is. Okay, that's just an erroneous component that's sitting in there. Let's just put dummy content in. My awesome service, okay? Let's make that an H1. Excellent. Let's just save there. I think that's all we need. And let's go view that on the front end, okay? All right, let's explain this. This confuses a lot of people. This won't happen with the correct architecture that I talked about, but it will happen with the existing WordPress architecture. So if you, let's go back into Etch for a second. Let's go to templates. If you create a template, this single post template in this column right here, this is the default WordPress architecture, it will take over all custom post types, okay? So you notice here when I say that's bad architecture, it just keeps hammering you over and over again. It's like, it screwed you on the URL. You can't customize the URL that you want. It screws you by inheriting all of your custom post types, right? So whatever template you make here is gonna try to apply itself because it's a single post. And a custom post type is technically a post, right? So it's gonna try to apply itself to all of those. It's just a thing after thing after thing, it tries to screw you over, which is why I skip over it, which is why I don't do it, okay? So if this happens to you, because you decide to use this old architecture, you need to create one of these. But the difference is you essentially duplicate the index. So you say save, and now that one should take precedence, okay? So my awesome service, just have a header, just have a footer. I don't have the nonsense from my single post template. So that's the way you fix it, because you have to override it. What you're essentially doing is saying, hey, I'm creating a template for services so that the specificity of the templates wins, right? Even though it's a direct replica of my index template. These are all complicated. This is all complicated by bad WordPress architecture, essentially. And you might say, Kevin, why don't you sidestep bad WordPress architecture and just create better architecture for us? That would involve creating an entire new CMS. It's not something we can do. Because then if you abandon WordPress architecture, you're abandoning all third-party platforms and systems and plugins and whatever that rely on the WordPress architecture. So they think you're using the WordPress architecture, but you aren't. Massive nightmares, massive nightmares. So we have to. It's just something you have to accept. And it's something you have to just come to learn of, like, okay, this architecture was created in 2003, and a lot of it seems that way and feels that way, and you just have to get okay with it. And just be like, all right, and do your little workarounds, okay? Workarounds exist. You got to do your little workarounds. Isn't there supposed to be some kind of conditions like in Bricks where one can assign templates to different CPT? No, you don't need conditions. That's the thing. You don't need conditions. Conditional logic is a last case scenario, and you don't want to be using conditional logic. If you can avoid it, you avoid it. You want to use the templating architecture, because that's why there's a templating architecture. Bricks forces you to use conditional logic when you shouldn't have to, because Bricks ignores some instances of WordPress architecture. For example, there's no header template in WordPress architecture that I know of. There's no footer template in WordPress templating architecture that I know of. That's Bricks calling those things templates and then forcing you to use conditional logic to decide where they should apply to. It's not correct architecture. It's not correct architecture. I don't know what else to tell you. People don't like it when I, oh, you're talking bad about the, I mean, it is what it is. Like, I don't know how else to tell it. Like, it's not WordPress architecture. So we made a decision to respect WordPress default native architecture. So, which, if you understand WordPress architecture, you already understand what's happening in Etch. So that is the bonus. But there's also scenarios where we can use the inheritance of templates to our benefit. Yeah, absolutely, for sure. With the exception of this blog post situation, because that, like I said, creates some inherent nightmares. Okay, so let's look at what we've done. Index, done. 404, done. Single post in bad architecture, done. Single post in good architecture, done. And then services we did as well. I think I need to refresh. Okay, there it is. So single services, also done. But remember, that's essentially just, I made a replica of the index template. Now, I did mention a scenario where you might want like a hero section that is by default in every single service. but then everything below that is custom content. How would you do that? Pretty simple. You add a section. This is going to be your hero. Okay, so we'll call this service hero. And we will put inside that container our H1. And we will call this, remember, service, we'll just say service heading, okay? And then I have my slot down below, okay? This is inside main, but outside of that hero section right there is my slot content. So I'm gonna save. I'm gonna go to service 1. This is the hero that I just did. And let's say let's go get so we can start to see a difference here. I mean, I could do colors and all this other stuff, but that's probably the easiest way to do it instead of doing image stuff. Let's just do a different color. So let's do BG dark, save, okay? So hopefully you guys can see that contrast difference on the stream. But that is the static hero, and anything below this is unique content. Now you're like, well, Kevin, how it's static, so I don't understand because now it's going to be the same on every service, and that's the H1, and it doesn't have to be. It doesn't have to be. So let's say you wanted to dynamically pull the title. You can still dynamically pull the title, service 1. If I made it something else, let's close these, okay? Let's go to edit service. And let's say that this is going to be banking, okay? Save. And let's go view that on the front end. Banking. So you have dynamic data available, but you also now can create custom fields. So anything going on in this static hero that's like forced into every service page can all be configured with custom fields. So if you had maybe a background image, you could have a custom field for setting the background image. You could have a custom headline field. You could have a custom lead field. You could have a custom CTA field, okay? So it's just now you're doing custom fields, but it's only for this hero section. Everything under that is gonna be completely unique to what you build on that specific page. That's a hybrid approach. And again, does not require conditional logic. It's just done with the default templating architecture. So you have, I can go no template and the whole page is custom. I can go template, so the whole page is templated, or I can go hybrid where half of the page is templated and the rest is completely unique content. All options are available to you. Okay, let's pause there. Let's see. All right, there's some side discussions in the chat. I've been playing around with the Etch and ACS. Okay. No, we have no plans to build a CMS. Okay. Post and page. So the post and pages column is really a fallback in a sense. Okay, I'll just be very honest with you, okay? I wanted to delete this entire column. I was like, just get rid of it. I don't even want people to see it. And then we did a poll. And, 20% of people, 30% of people were like, Kevin, I love that section. Okay, as usual, right? 70% of people were good getting rid of it. But 30% is a little bit too much to actually do it, right? So I left it. I mean, we left it, whatever, it is what it is. And now on every stream, I'm gonna have to explain it. Thank you to those 30% of people, okay? I gotta explain this on every single stream. I didn't want it. I don't think you should do anything in here. I think this column right here should look like this. It should be absolutely blank. Don't ever put anything there and ignore it and curse the 30% of people that made me leave it there for the entire life that you have to look at it, okay? Let's just go with that. Your posts, blog posts, should be in custom architecture. A custom post type should be handling that, okay? Custom post types for everything else. All right, let's do an archive template, What does an archive template do? I'm gonna go, because a lot of people get confused on this, okay? Here's my custom post type services. I have 2 services. An archive template, what does a single post template do? If I click on one of these, that's what a single post template does. If I click on an archive, I see all of them. I see this one and this one and this one and however I want to, but I see all of them. And it could be paginated, at that point. It could be Ajax load more. It could be those kinds of scenarios. That is what an archive is. You're looking at all of the things that exist in that section. If we were doing posts, I would see all of my posts. So this is like a traditional blog grid, right? So if I did /blog, right? I don't see anything here because we haven't created an archive for /blog. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna do the one for services. And this would be in lieu of creating a services page. So again, we get into a more architecture discussion. Here's what a lot of people would do. Add page, services, publish, edit. They would create a services page, okay? This is actually gonna be a little bit of a problem because my templating architecture already created a URL called services, and now I'm trying to create a page with a URL called services because I really shouldn't be doing this. You don't want to go this route. This is not what you want to do, okay? This like services page, check this out. If you can, I'm just being very radical today. I'm very radical feeling, but no, I mean, this is what I really, this is what I teach, okay? If you can get away with only having a homepage in this pages area, because let's just reiterate this. This is 2003 architecture. This shit makes no sense whatsoever. This junk drawer called pages, absolute trash. Can't be categorized, can't be relationshiped. What term do we want to use there? Can't be relationshiped very easily. It relies, if you want to list all pages in a certain section, because there's no sections, there's no taxonomy, there's no nothing, you have to use parent-child relationships. Awful. This is atrocious. You should not use this section as much as possible. Try your absolute best to put nothing in here. If you want the best architecture, try your absolute best to put nothing in here. Which means, by the way, that if you ever come across a project where everything is in here, somebody got to go to jail. We are pressing charges, 100%. I will send an extra bill, but I'm also calling the police. Like, I am pressing charges on any person who put everything in here. It's just a felony violation. It's what it is. It is assault and battery on the next person who takes over this site or on your future self. So I just try not to put anything in here. Services is a template. It's a custom post type templated situation where we came over here, okay? Let's go to post types, go to services, come down, URLs. Remember this area? I opted into having an archive page. That created, if I go back up here, this post type key, a slug of this key right here, which by the way is why I make them plural. It's why I make them plural. I really think they should be plural. They're not plural by default because nothing in WordPress makes sense. It tries to make it singular by default. You should fight against that. You need a little self-defense, okay? A little Krav Maga in your typing here to make sure that that doesn't assault you, because that's another assault, okay? This should be services. If we're being opinionated today, I don't know much of anything. I don't know why I use WordPress at this point. Okay, let's keep going. So if I go to services, that is a working URL. I don't need to create any new pages. All I need to do is template it. So I'm gonna launch Etch. I'm gonna go here and I'm gonna go to services. Check that out. Services archive. Hey, there it is. Let's go ahead and hit it. Save. What did it do? It inherited my index template. I'm gonna go in here. I am not gonna use the content slot. I'm gonna drop a section in there, and then I'm going to drop a heading. I will call this services. Let's make it H1. Let's save, okay? All right, now let's go back out here and let's go to services. So we have a services page, right? URL, but I didn't make a page. I didn't need to. I didn't make a page, didn't need to, right? And this makes total sense. Why would you want a page called services living here when your services live over here? Now you've created a disconnection. And I create a custom post type that has an archive, and now What, I'm going to try to hijack that URL or something? Like what, this is good architecture. Here are my services, and I have a slug called services that I can get to at any time. And it looks exactly the same. I can do whatever. I'm not limited in any form or fashion, okay? And so all we need to do now is figure out how we're gonna loop our services. Let me go to the chat real quick and make sure this is making sense. Now, questions like this, I just caught this out of the corner of my eye. I need a little more clarity. So this is fine for the archive pages, but what about all the standalone ones? I mean, the only answer I can give without more context to that is archive shows all of them, and you have the single for showing a single, right? See, service one, but this is different. Now look at the architecture. I can remove this and go to this page, which is gonna be the overview, okay? And I will do the BG dark on here, just so it has the same contrast, and I'm gonna add another section, okay? And this is where we would loop through all of our services. And we're gonna talk about how to do the loop in just a second. But I wanna check in, so is a contact page or a custom post type? Okay, so here's what we're gonna do. This is a great question. And again, doesn't have a hashtag Q. Lucky I caught it, all right? Let me go back here. I just wanna do everything in native, you could do this in Etch, but I wanna do everything in native WordPress land because it helps people identify these areas that they see all the time, right? A contact page. Here's the rule. I'm gonna give you a rule. This is the rule you live by. This is the rule we judge people by in a WordPress court of law when we take them to trial for violating these rules, okay? If it is truly a standalone URL, it is unrelated to anything else, it can live here. So if I'm gonna make a contact page, contact, totally fine, okay? Nobody's calling the police here. Nobody's calling the police. There's my contact page right there. Okay, so there it is, contact page. What archetype does that belong to? None, nothing, nada. Now you do this, watch this, and WordPress tries to do this for you. Shame on them, okay? Look what they try to do. I delete it in every install, right? Just immediately, I run there to delete it, okay? Let's say you're gonna do like this. Okay, I'm gonna do a couple little things here. Add page, and I'm gonna say privacy policy. And I'm gonna go down here. Even this part's annoying. Okay, publish, all right? And then I'm gonna go out, and I'm gonna go terms and conditions, all right? Publish, okay? All right, there we go. Now, will this work? Of course, it'll work. Is it good architecture? No, it's not good architecture. This is not how you use a content management system. People do this, they love to do this. I promise you, if you do that as a habit, you're gonna run into limitations and problems and all sorts of shit. It's just bad architecture. I'm not saying it won't work. You can make it work. But if you try this with all of your shit, it is bad architecture and you will hate your life at some point, okay? There's no reason to do it. Just stand on business. Stand on principle, okay? The principle is that's bad architecture. I will show you the easiest way to do this. ACF, post types, add new, legal, okay? Advanced, URLs. This really doesn't take any extra time, by the way, to have good architecture. Okay, there's my legal. Here we go. Privacy policy. Now they can all be templated. Now they can be templated without, you know what you're gonna have to do? Like, you're gonna have to go into that page template land and you're gonna, oh gosh, I'm not even, it makes me nauseous thinking about it, okay? I'm not even gonna go over what you would have to do. Add new legal, terms and conditions. Okay, publish. I now have taxonomies available to me. I now have easier time templating. I now have a whole host of things. It just became easier in my life when I do that. I can now loop through my legal pages very easily. Go try to loop through pages that are just naked pages. Go try to loop through naked pages. Good luck with that. It makes, all aspects of life, I'm knocking shit off my desk, okay? All aspects of your life are harder when you use pages. This is proper architecture. This is a content management system. Oh my God, guys, I'm managing my content. Imagine that in the content management system. This is proper content management, proper architecture. I now get my /legal. I now have an archive that's /legal that's gonna automatically show all of my legal pages. And I can have a single for all of my legals, okay? It's great, it's fantastic. And I'm gonna go back into Etch, and you're gonna see right here, all right, look at that, legal. I go, hey, I need a single. Hey, I need an archive. Hey, I hit save, I go build them, bing, bam, boom, I'm done, proper architecture, move on with my life, okay? And when I open a website, I can see everything that's going on. Oh, look, they have a legal section. Oh, look, they have blog posts. Oh, look, they have services. Oh, look, they have some taxonomies. I can see it all from the bird's eye view of the architecture. If I happen to be in the back end, I can see back here, look, here's where I need to put each piece of thing, okay? Have I used a single ounce of conditional logic yet? No. Have I had to switch a page from one template to another page and keep track of what templates are available for each page? No, because everything has its own home and everything is instructed on how it should behave by the default templating architecture. That's it, okay? Very easy, very clean. Now, why did contact live in here? Because it doesn't make sense for it to live anywhere else. It's not grouped with anything. But the rule is, like you saw here with legal, these things are the same archetype. They should be typed. This is a type of content. They're all the same. They belong together. They live together. If that is the case, if there's even just two of them, they belong in a custom post type. End of story, end of discussion, okay? All right, let's do a taxonomy template. So here's how a taxonomy template works. We have these posts right here, right? Another blog post, sample blog post, okay? By the way, you should know how to turn on taxonomies for these things. All right, so taxonomies, I can create a custom taxonomy, okay? Or I can assign, if I go to, let's go to post types. My dog's going crazy downstairs. Hopefully they get that under control. So I'm gonna go to posts, let's edit this. And taxonomies, I can say, hey, use the default WordPress category taxonomy to categorize these posts right here, okay? So I'm gonna hit save, and now I go into my posts here, and I go over here, and I should have categories right here. I'm gonna add a couple, okay? So cat 1, let's add that in, and then I have cat 2, add that in, and I have uncategorized. I'm gonna put this post in all three categories. Mark Zamansky and I discovered that if you don't have any posts in a category, the category does not exist in the WordPress architecture to loop through. Can't loop through them unless it has a post. Dumb, very dumb, but I mean, we should know by now. It's not gonna make sense. If it's WordPress, it's not gonna make sense. So just accept it. That's what I've done. I've just accepted it. All right. So now these things have taxonomies, right? So if I go to categories, here they are. This is what it looks like in the default WordPress admin. This is the screen that you're probably used to seeing. Archive page, a taxonomy archive page would show these categories right here as options on the page. And then you can potentially click into them to get into and see the posts for that specific category. Does that make sense? Okay. Mark is here. He is in the chat. Okay, fantastic. So let's go into Etch, launch Etch, and let's go to taxonomies, and let's create a category archive. And actually, sorry, I gotta back up. Another fault of the WordPress architecture, and we had a discussion about perhaps being able to fix this or work around it. But I believe this is a single, essentially, a single category. That's how you need to interpret this. This is a single category. It's not an overview of all the categories, okay? There's no, at least I don't think, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm fairly certain on this. There is no native way to get an overview of all categories as like an archive template. by default, it just tries to template, like show you all posts in a specific category, not all categories, okay? So I'm gonna save here. And so when you do a category archive, that's what you need to, think about. That's what you're creating, right? Okay, it inherits my index template by default. I'm not gonna use a content slot here. We're gonna have to do some loop stuff here in a minute. So I'm going to do a heading, and let's go back to docs so I show you where to get this, okay? Taxonomies use taxonomy.key and term.key. So we have this dot, taxonomy dot, term dot, item dot for all this data, right? Okay, so I believe what we're gonna be using, because this is, even though it's called an archive, fucking WordPress, dude, it's giving me a damn headache. Even though it's called an archive, it's really like a single template for a single category, for a single term, right? So I think what we're gonna be using is term dot, okay? And I think we can verify this. Let's just do term, I think it's gonna be term dot title, I believe, okay? Okay, let's go see what we can do here. Let's go to posts, categories, view. Okay, no, that's not it. Cat 2. Okay, it's a little Inception level shit going on here. Let's go this static title. Okay, see how it's showing me preview down here for individual categories. That's another clue that we're working individual categories. Let's go to posts here. Categories here. These should be exactly the same. There we go. Okay, so we are showing it properly. Let's close this one. And let's add our whole section, get that going. So inside of here, I'm gonna go section, pop it in, open it up, get our heading stuck in there, get an H1, let's save, refresh, excellent. Let's do the same BG dark that we've been doing to get a little contrast on it. Okay. It should be term.title or taxonomy.title. Let's see what we can get here. Term.title, taxonomy. I think it's tax, right? Taxonomy. It could also be .name as well. Some of these terms are, there we go. Term.name. Okay, I was pretty sure it was term. So instead of title, like it would be for all your post titles and your page titles, and of course, they didn't want to do that. They didn't want to keep going with that, pattern. They wanted to use name instead. Okay. See, that's title. We should probably user key. Yeah, we're gonna need to put one in specifically for templating that is showing name. Okay. All right. So let's go here. I have cat 2. Okay. Excellent. Correct. There's no, yeah. So Andron, confirmed there's no taxonomies template in the hierarchy, just a term template. Now, like I said, I talked to Mateo, hopefully fingers crossed, at some point you will be able to come in and make an overview page for all of your categories, because those are very helpful to create. You just can't do it with WordPress's default architecture, and we're going to have to find a workaround for it. Okay. So I've got a archive template, which I need to be able to show my posts for. And I've got a archive template for my services, which I would need also to be able to show for. So let's go back and see that as well. And then I'm going to show you how to do the loops in both of these, because now it's loop time. You got to be able to loop through the items. So I'm going to go to services. Okay, we have banking, we have service 1. Let's go to services here. You see we have services. Let's do this one first. So I'll go to edit with Etch. I'll go to templates. And in our services, we're going to go to our service archive page. All right. So down here, we're going to create a service card. All right. Very basic, what you would always do. So I'm going to say service card. I'm going to call this services list. I'm going to change that to an article. I'm not going to make these beautiful because that's not the point of what we're doing today. I'm going to right click, convert this to a list. So now I have an actual list of cards. I'm going to put a heading in the card. This should be the service title or service heading or whatever you want to call it. And that's probably all we need. All right, let's right click. Let's create BEM classes here so we can do a little bit of styling. just some space M kind of stuff, a background of BG dark, okay? Border radius of radius, okay? Save. That's all we need. We're not gonna make it too beautiful. Services list, save, okay. Now, if I duplicated this, we see we need maybe a little grid situation. So I'm gonna say display of grid. Always do it static first. Even though you're gonna be looping, always build the static replica before you do dynamic data. It will save you a lot of headaches. Let's go to insert media query, and at greater or equal to 767, I'm gonna do a grid template columns of grid 3, okay? All right, fantastic. Now, I just want 3 of them. There you go. So if I go back and we refresh, let's go to our services, okay? There's our services archive page. Service title, service title, service title. This is static, but this is what we want to see. We just want to see it with dynamic data, okay? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to delete 2 of the LIs, because you only need 1 of them, right? That's the thing you're going to loop. So we're going to wrap in loop. Perfect. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go edit my loops. You need to create a configurable loop, all right? And I'm going to show you in just a second how we did the architecture, for example, for the pattern site that I showed you in the beginning. So this is going to be services, okay? Now, you sometimes can do this with all one loop, depending on how advanced you want to make it. You can always do it with separate loops as well, because the one for my archive, for certain, like if I had taxonomies going on, you would need a tax query situation happening here. For just general, you don't need that happening, right? So some of this goes into loop territory, and we did a whole loop live stream. Probably go back and watch the loop live stream. This is all like, this is, if you're gonna WordPress, you gotta learn WordPress, right? I'm gonna start with just a normal services and show you what that would look like, okay? Let me go down here and chat. Yeah, I'm like rapid fire going through this. That's why I'm using media queries. I noticed a couple people asked about container queries versus, that's not what this stream is about, right? If I did container queries, I would have to go into an explanation on what the hell is going on with those. And I'm trying to avoid that territory. So I quickly just inserted some media queries. Okay, so I currently, if I create services and I change this post type to services, right? You can see I have an entire list of my services. Okay, we'll ignore that one for right now. All right, so let's save and let's go back out. If I come in, all right, loop, I should now be able to choose a services loop. I have 2 services. I'm seeing 2 cards. So far, this is fantastic. What I'm gonna do now, if we go back and look at our keys, remember, if I can zoom in, item dot, and it says that right there, item dot. Of course, you could change this to service, but my suggestion here, everybody asked for my suggestion, if you're not using nested loops, leave it as item. There's no reason to add any unnecessary complexity. If you are doing nested loops, change it. Always change it, because now it becomes more contextually accurate. It becomes easier to decipher what's going on. But if you're not doing nested loops, just leave it alone. Just use item, okay? All right, let me zoom back out. So this would be item.title, right? Banking service 1. Banking service 1. So this is your services page. It's not a page. This is a template, okay? It's an archive. It's showing you all the services that live in this section. Done deal. Done deal. Simple as that, okay? Let's pause there and see, does anybody have any, like, what happened, Kevin? What did you, it's just, all I did was create a loop, told it to loop through services. Now, there's a couple things that we can talk about, customization-wise. If I open the loop manager again, this is gonna loop 10 loops. This is like my global services loop that I can use all over the place. I happen to be using it on a archive template, but I could use this anywhere. I could use this on a page. I could use this in a random section somewhere else on a random poster page. If I want to add flexibility here, I do need to change this 10. okay? And I'm gonna show you one way to do this. It's very, very flexible. I just wanna make sure we're not lost or like you need that main aspect of that re-explained. Doesn't look like it. Nobody's saying, whoa, 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 what just happened? Okay, so if I want to use this anywhere and I do want tremendous flexibility in it, instead of writing 10, I'm gonna write the word count. Now you can write, let's be clear, whatever word you want, okay? My awesome, fancy count thing. This will work also. I don't know why you would do that, but that will work, okay? Sometimes people are confused between like architectural syntax and like, can I, like, why did you call it that? This is a case where you can call it whatever you want. I think count makes really good sense, so I use the word count. Now, if you do this, okay, what you're gonna be able to do then is you're gonna be able to come to your loop down here. I'll zoom in. Loop services, count, -1, okay? Now it's gonna loop through all of them, but I can change that to 2, and it's gonna show me 2. 1 will show me 1. 3 will show me 3. I can now, per loop, decide what that count is gonna be. And I don't have to create more loops, right? I have one global loop that's, hey, this loop's looping through services, and I can manipulate how it's behaving on each instance of the loop. And that's just very simple. It's no harder than creating a CSS token to store your background color, right? If you know how to do double dash background color and put a value in, you can do this, okay? You just make a little token, put a value in. That's it. That's all it is, okay? Okay, yeah, everybody, nobody's saying they're lost. Nobody's saying they're lost. So how would we replicate this on posts, right? If I want to go to posts, hit here, post archive, open this up, save. Okay, let's add a section. Now we can move a little faster. So I'm inside my main, and I'm gonna say blog posts. All right, let's change that to an H1. Bang, let's go with our fancy BG Dark that we've been doing. Let's add another section. Let's do a blog post card. Let's go, nope, not a section. Let's go with a flex div, okay? And let's call that post card. Hopefully I don't already have one of those. And let's go with a heading, and let's go with text, okay? Let's go with convert to list. Let's go auto BIM. Okay, and let's say post list. Nice. This is my post list. List item, post card. We can quickly do this. We'll make it have extra padding. We'll say background of base. I don't know why I'm trying to get fancy now. Base ultra dark. That's the same as that one. Base dark. Okay. Let's go border radius of radius. Fantastic. Okay, we'll just leave it at that. Let's go right click and wrap in loop. And I'm gonna come down here and I'm gonna grab, do I have one for my posts? I don't see one for my posts, so I'm just gonna go create one real quick. Let's create a new loop. Call this posts. Posts, blog. Remember, we did our own architecture. This is not post type post. This is post type blog. This is my own custom architecture, right? Let's throw a count in so we can manipulate our count. Now I can come back out. Now I can go to my loop. I can say, all right, there's my posts right there. I'm gonna immediately come down here and I'm gonna say, I wanna see all of them. Count -1, perfect. I'm gonna come in here, item.title. Bang, okay? And then I can put in my excerpt here. I don't think my posts actually have excerpts. This would be an excerpt if I had one, okay? Save, and then I can come over here to my post list and I could say display of grid, right click, add a media query, greater or equal 767, grid, template, columns, grid 3, save, okay? Now let's go out. Let's go to blog. Boom, there you go. So we have blog posts. It's just like making a blog page, except it's not a page, right? Same loop, actually. Like if I went and created an actual blog page, I would use the same exact loop. So nothing in that changed. It's literally just, it lives in a template instead of in a page, because the page is useless since we already have a template. Okay. Are there any questions so far? We're about to do a search results template. And this is going to be, I think probably, we've done archive. We've done taxonomy archive. We did single post. We did both types of architecture. We did index. We did 404. We could do search results. Is probably all that's going to be left. Okay. And then we got to do Q&A. Can I set a default loop itself for anything can be, these are called arguments, custom arguments in these loops, okay? If I go back to here, say this count right here is an argument. You can literally argumentize any of these things, any of them, okay? Even arrays. So that's nice too. All right, so let's do a search results template. Look at all these things that we've created. Look at all of this stuff, right? And look what more importantly, look at all we've done on this website. And then I'm gonna go show you something. It does help if your site has navigation, by the way. Probably should add that first, like as one of your first things to add. Because you see with me, I gotta constantly manipulate these URLs because I can't nav anything. Look at this. Look how, oh my God, gorgeous. Oh, it's so gorgeous. Look at this. It's so clean. It's so pristine. Oh, it's so pristine. No junk in here. There's no garbage. Everything lives in its own area. I'm using everything as efficiently as possible, right? Okay. By the way, this is why a unified development environment is so important. Like if you're on like this is my homepage. Let's say I'm like, I need to go do my services real quick, right? My services archive real quick, okay? Templates, services, archive, I'm there. Okay, I don't have to navigate out to pages or anything like that. I'm just there. And I can get to if it was a page, I could get there, you know? If I go to page, like my contact page, I'm there. This is my contact page. Let's add a heading. I believe you can also, like, if you really wanted to, you know, look at that. There you go. You could, I mean, there's no reason to because there's no other pages that are going to use this, but like you could still use dynamic data there. Okay. Well, it's not that. It's an H1. All right. So there's my contact. And just for, you know, OCD purposes, let's get our nice little dark background on there. Okay. I'll go to the front end. Boom. There's my contact page. Perfect. Why not just argument the post type instead of creating a new loop? Because then you're having to do that for every single thing. And sometimes loops get very complex and sometimes they have tax queries and meta queries attached to them and a lot of other shit going on. And if you try to use one master loop, it's going to get really headachy, like super, super headachy. And it's nice also when you come back to a project. Let me show you this overview. You go to here, this loop manager, to see all the things that are going on this site. Like, for example, if I had a FAQs that were, I didn't create a post type for them, right? I'm just going to use JSON, right? I should probably do it like this, all right? And I'm going to go JSON data, all right? These are going to be my FAQs right here. I can open a site and see, okay, they got FAQs. All right, I see the data right here. All right, there's their post loop. I can see my arguments. I can go, like recent posts you wouldn't need anymore. They're using a JSON loop for a nav. Look at that. Oh, and there's my nav data right there. Okay, I can edit my nav data. You have a centralized, like, you're seeing everything. If all I saw right here was like master loop, and then it was just full of a shitload of arguments, I'd be like, I don't know what's going on this site. Now I got to go to every single loop and figure out how the hell it's configured. And then what if I want to use that loop again? Well, I got to duplicate it. So I think you see, if you lead yourself down that rabbit hole, you'll quickly realize, yeah, we probably shouldn't do it that way. Okay, let's do search results because I know, and by the way, I mean, I am doing things that are documented. So if I go to templates and I go to search results, here are the instructions, okay? Like, you don't have to, like, you know, there's pathways to doing this without watching a live stream, but people do like to see it in action, okay? But it says right here, to build a functional search results template, you need the template itself, a loop configured to display the results, a loop argument to inject the search term dynamically into the loop, a search form, custom or pre-made, okay? And you actually don't need the form. That's, I mean, you could be a caveman with your WordPress search. I'll show you. You don't actually need a form to submit to, at least for testing purposes. You can do this without a form. Okay, so let's go ahead and jump back in. Let's delete this. Let's delete this. And let's delete this. And let's go back into Etch. Okay, so I'm going to go here and I'm going to come down. Now, sometimes the search results, because it was already there. So it worries me that like it's not connected because this WordPress theme situation, it's WordPress. It's WordPress. But I'm just gonna cross my fingers and we're gonna go for it. Okay, so I'm gonna add a header and I'm gonna add a footer. And because this was already created, that's why they don't exist. Remember that. We're gonna add a section. Okay, this is gonna be main, and that's gonna be main. And then, and if you were gonna do this from scratch, this is what it would look like. So I created my own main and I created a slot content. Now I'm back to essentially what the index template gives me. Okay, so I'm gonna add a section, put it in, and we will add a heading. Search results. H1, perfect. And let's go BG dark, all right? Let's add another section. So this is where our actual results are going to go. Let's build the card that's going to show the results, okay? So we're gonna say results card, and I'll say results list. Okay, inside of that, we're gonna have a heading, H2. That should be fine. I'm probably not gonna do anything else, but we'll just do that. We'll just do that. Create BEM, padding, space. We'll do small this time, okay? Background of BG dark, border radius of radius. Okay, so I want to convert that to a list. Still is a list, okay? And let's take the LI and let's wrap it in a loop. So now we're gonna get all of that duplicated. We're gonna call this a results list. Fantastic. And I'm just gonna let this be a list this time. I'm not gonna make it a grid. I'm just gonna let it be like a top-down, spaced out list. All right, so this would obviously be the post title, or yeah, because that's essentially a search query in WordPress is searching for posts, even though it can also return pages and custom post types and all that stuff, okay? But we're essentially gonna say post title. All right, so the next thing we need to figure out, we added a loop. Do we have a loop for search results, right? And we don't, but if you go to the docs right here, it's gonna come down here and it's gonna give you one. It's gonna hand you one. Here you go. Click this little button to copy it, okay? And let's create one. So let's add a loop and we're gonna call this search results. And I'm just gonna paste, oh, my paste didn't work. Okay, fantastic. Let's get these right there. Let's go back in, bang, okay? So post, and then we have, here's the important parts. This right here essentially makes it a search results loop. Did they use the word search? Did they use the word results? No, that would make far too much sense. They used S, okay? S. And so we're gonna be able to inject our term and we're gonna be able to inject a count. The first thing that I'm gonna do, I'm gonna go back here, okay? And I'm gonna choose our search results list, okay? And I'm gonna come in here with our arguments and I'm gonna say count. Let's show all of them. And then I'm gonna say term is post, okay? Or maybe hello. Is one of them called hello? I don't know. I don't even know what it's, oh, I think I gotta put it in there we go. So that would be, and this is just like static. Obviously we have to make this dynamic in just a second, but we need to be able to see what the hell we're working with. Like you gotta get something on the screen, right? So let me show you what I did because a new thing happened there, right? So I did the count -1. You've seen that before, but there was another argument called the search term. And I did a comma to add another argument. So arguments, as many as you want, comma separated. and I put in static data. And because this post title is not actually post title, it's hello world, the search found it, okay? So there you go. Like the loop is working. So let's go ahead and zoom back out. Let's overview again. I created a search loop. It's looking for a term. I statically told it the term was hello to look for, right? And it's looking for a count, which I said is -1, which means all of them. So all I have to do to get this working is somehow be able to dynamically inject the term that somebody searched for. How do you do that? Well, to learn how to do that, we got to take a trip to the front end. And we have to understand how WordPress search works. When you fill out a WordPress search form, all it literally does is it puts a question mark here. It puts an S, the thing we saw a second ago in that query loop, equals, and then your term. And this is that's all it does, okay? Now the loop has to be able to look at that term right there and grab that from the URL. And if the loop can grab that from the URL, you've got a functioning search results loop. Question is, how do we do that? Okay, well, go back to here. Always back to the documentation, my friends. Okay, we scroll all the way down. Oh, what is this? We have URL keys. What is this? Those are called parameters, by the way. That little S, that question mark S, you've heard of UTM parameters before? Like UTM XYZ, right? Those are UTM parameters. All those things are called parameters. We can grab the value of any parameter we want with the URL.parameter key, okay? So if I go in, instead of saying term hello, which also you need to understand here, dynamic data keys can be injected into these arguments, okay? So I can say URL.parameter.s, which says, hey, look in the URL for a parameter called s and extract its value. That's essentially what this is doing, okay? So I'm gonna go ahead and, now you're not gonna see anything because there's nothing in our URL. It would probably be very helpful if creating a search results template, like you can do a post preview, we could do a search results preview or something like that. You could actually put a term in to be able to use, right? We've also talked about fallbacks for these arguments as well, which would probably solve that problem, okay? So I'm searching for hello, and it's finding hello world. Let's make sure that this is working, okay? Let's go back here and go to, it's these posts right here. Wait, did I do the normal one? Okay, let's add a second one. Let's do my awesome post. Okay, I'm gonna search for the word awesome, all right? Let's view this post on the front end, and let's just hijack the URL. S equals awesome. It found it, my awesome post, okay? So I've created a search results template. Now, how would you go about adding a search form? We will build one for you and you'll be able to copy and paste it in. Or what I would highly recommend, because guys, it's a form, it should live with your form system. WS Form is free. I believe they have a search form template that is free. In fact, let's just try this real quick, okay? I didn't plan to do this, but we'll just try it on the fly. I actually have never used the free version of WS Form. Let's just install it real quick and see what we can get done. Okay, all right, it's installed. Let's go to WS Form, add a form, click to start. I'm a developer, skip, get started, okay. Do they have a search results form in here? And if not, we will demos, contact, booking. Maybe they don't. Maybe the pro one does. Like I said, never use the free one. You can make it through here very easily. Like I said, we will provide you one, but all it does is essentially tack on that your search phrase to the URL. Okay, so you can totally build the template without it, and this is what you get. Let me show you one more thing, because you do need to be able to link to the thing. Like just showing them is not good enough. So let's go into the heading. I'm gonna add a link. It's gonna add it as a child of the heading, okay? I'm gonna take this item.title. Best way to do this, because when you put a link in here, it's going to add new text, right? Best way I found to do this, most efficient way I found, Command X that is going to cut it. Command paste that right there. And now you just, essentially you moved it over. You moved it over, okay? So now we're going to save. Go back to our search result. Hey, it's a link, but problem is it doesn't go anywhere. Where does it need to go? Okay? Well, we are looping as item, okay? So I need the item permalink and I need the relative path of the permalink, okay? So I'm gonna go into anchor. I'm gonna go in here. I'm gonna paste item.title, item.permalink.relative. Don't even need the quotes. Save, okay? And let's go, bang, bang, hello world, hello world. There we are, okay? So I've got a working search results template that gives me the posts, it links them, all that is good to go. Yes, fallbacks. Hey, we would already have fallbacks, but it is a major, major architectural thing. It is not easy, so that's why they're not there yet. If it was easy, you would already have them, trust me. But we will be adding them very soon. Okay. Yes, post type is post right now, but you can, I believe you can just make a string of them, okay? I want to get to Q&A, so we don't technically have time to do all that. But let's just review real quick what we were able to accomplish in this little stream. We created an index. We created a 404. We created a search results. We did a bunch of bullshit in here with the old architecture that we ended up deleting because nobody should ever use it. We did single legal. We did a legal archive. We did single blog, a post archive. We did a single services. With a service archive, we did a category archive. We did all those things in one stream, okay? Let's do Q&A. You have a stray content slot on your search archive. Okay, cool, easy to fix. And bang, save. Good. Okay, let's go back, refresh. Where's our search? Let's just search again. So S equals awesome. Bang. Now there's no dummy content in there. All good. Okay. And I mean, as you've seen in the past, right? It's all semantically accurate. I mean, super clean, super clean. Doesn't get any cleaner than that, my friends. Okay. We can argument post type also and use a single loop and define like type posts. Yes. 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 This is possible. This is possible. All the things are possible in Etch. All the things are possible. Like I've said, the only thing better than Etch is Etch tomorrow. That's it, okay? All right, when will PHP authoring be available for native pagination? See, I'm coming around, guys. I said I would never say pagination, but I am saying pagination now. PHP custom author, we talked about it like essentially, I think we're gonna tackle right after V1 stable. It's like one of the immediate priorities right after that. All right, hashtag Q. Okay, I'm gonna start at the bottom and I'm gonna work my way up. So if you asked very, very early on, I apologize. Will there be a head slot? No, that's not, it's not needed. You go to index, right? Your header is a component. Which, by the way, we have multiple instances of our header, right? That's why it needs to be a component. If I want to put a slot in my header for like a navigation component, for example, I mean, we could try to do that real quick. Like we could add a slot, right? Instead of content, it's going to be right because this slot is going to be on the right side. And I will I'll just exit now, and then we'll add that. Okay, add slot. Actually, let me save. Let me refresh. Okay. I'm going to insert my header one more time. Okay. Perfect. Didn't I change the name? Let me go back in. Maybe I didn't save it when I did it. Edit component. So header, content. I didn't. Okay. Right. Save. Did I exit without saving? Was I moving too quick? Okay. Let's insert my header again and see if it does it. There it is. Okay. So I now have this thing called slot right. Now, a slot, just for those of you who don't know, allows you to inject anything into any instance of any component. Now you don't have to do this if like I'm gonna put a nav in and it's gonna be my only header. I'm not gonna do anything fancy. You don't have to have a slot, okay? In fact, I can delete this and I can go show you how to do it the other way too. Like you do not have to do this. I'm gonna save. So now I have no slot. We're back to a normal header, all right? So it's all gonna work exactly the same. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go over to Docs, Elements, Dynamic Elements, Advanced Nav, we need Basic Nav, okay? All right, you follow the instructions here. It does tell you in the instructions to add a slot, okay? I'm gonna copy the navigation component. There is a burger component. I don't think I'm gonna worry about that right now. I'm gonna come into the header, and in this container, I am going to paste, and there is a navigation right there, okay? Now, what I need to do is in this header, which is my inner, I just need to display them as flex, and flex direction of row, and that will put them in a line. And I can say align items, space between, justify content, space between. You still want a gap, okay? We'll just throw a 1em gap in there. And I'll come into this component right here. Oh, this is why we need a slot. It's probably better to have the slot. Because of the nested component situation is not where we want it to be yet. Let's add a slot, call it right. It's just gonna be easier to do the slot. Let's do right, okay. And then let's go etch nav component, we'll save without it. We'll go back, okay. Add our header again. And boom. And then in our slot, let's go ahead and paste. Bang, there's our nav. So same situation, it's just in a slot instead of not in a slot. And what this gives me the ability to do is from inside that component, I can edit this component very easily. I'm going to just quickly, because again, OCD is an issue. Nav background color, I'm just gonna say transparent, okay? Foreground color, I'm gonna say is var white. This was made to work without automatic CSS, so that's why you're gonna see some static values in here. And I now essentially have like a working navigation, and it's gonna be pulling my basic nav loop, all right? So I'm gonna exit now, save, go back to our front end. And good, let's go here. Okay, I don't know why, oh, hold on, let's check our loop. Edit loop. Okay, I don't know what's going on. Let's go back. Loop, okay. So here's my basic nav, which does exist. Let's go back to templates real quick. Let's go to index, header, edit component, container. Okay, yeah, I don't know why it's doing this. Slot content, let's try it one more time. Right, save, make sure it saves, exit. I'm gonna add it one more time. I'm gonna refresh and see if we still have it before I move on. Save, see I have the slot right there. Slot right, okay, good. Do I have the nav saved? Etch nav component, save, good. Basic nav, okay. Navigation, save, okay. Oh, hold on. Yeah, no, that should be right. Let's do it again. Etch nav component, save, basic nav, navigation, save. Okay, let's go back and just see if we can get, there we go. Okay, now let's edit component. Awesome. So we have our basic nav. Let's look inside of it. It may be something with regard to the copy paste. Okay, etch nav. Yeah, because I feel like the classes didn't come over. I think what we're having is a copy paste issue from the docs, and we'll have to investigate that. But if that copy paste worked and you had a functional nav, it would be sitting up there. It would be inside of your slot. It would be good to go. You can use a loop. You can use a static nav, however you want to do it. We use a loop because it's the best way to do it for right now. And that's that. But you don't need, depending on your situation, like I don't know. I don't actually know what the head. Okay, maybe this was what you were asking about. Instead of header, you're talking about head. Add tracking scripts are on in the head currently use it. Yeah, you would use a plugin for that for sure. That'll be native, but for right now, yes, you use a plugin. And maybe that's what this person was trying to ask. And I thought they were asking about the header. Do you have any date for frames for Etch? It's already there, essentially. That's what I showed before. Go to patterns.etchwp.com. Basic ones will be free. Pro ones will require your license. Okay. Is there a UI for building post queries too? Post queries. Can you clarify UI for building post queries? Can you clarify the question? I'm not exactly sure what you're asking. Where's the trade-off between setting arguments and creating a separate loop? I feel like if it's a completely different context that you're looping, then it really depends on the situation. It really depends on the situation. I think the principle is for each scenario, like I'm going to loop through my services. You might do that a lot of different ways. Try your best to use one loop. And then if it starts to get way too complicated, then I think you would naturally come to the conclusion, okay, I'm just going to break out a separate loop for this. But I think the principle is just start with the simplest possible loop. Like one loop with some arguments, and if that gets the job done, that gets the job done. What you want to avoid for sure is duplication. Okay, like let me show you an obvious duplication issue. So I have services right here. Let's say that this was going to be 10. And then I was like, okay, now what I'm going to do is I'm going to create another services loop. And I'm going to call this services all, like that. And then I'm going to say this is services and this is -1. Okay, so now I have a services all and a services. Did this need to take place? And now what if I end up needing some sort of tax query situation? Am I going to have to apply that to both of these? Like, that's an obvious problem. These two things are not different enough to justify another loop. And so I would just say, instead of 10, do count. Now you can flexibly put in whatever count you want, and you're dealing with one single loop. So I think the situations are going to fairly be obvious. And the principle is just use the fewest amount of loops possible without making it insanely like if now you're like, okay, there's a key for fucking everything, then you probably should have broken it out into a second loop at some point. What is the best way to do meta on archives? Like what kind of meta are you referring to? I will go back to the index template real quick and show you guys like in the footer how this is done. Pretty much already done in this template. Let's edit this component. Okay. So what's happening down here is it says copyright and the copyright symbol, site.currentDate.date format. All of this is in the doc right here. So you go back to dynamic data. Okay. Come down here, user keys, site keys. So you can reference site.currentDate. And then if you go to modifiers, you can see that you can format the date. And you can format using any PHP documentation available. So all of these things work right here for formatting dates. And so that's essentially all that it's doing. It's taking the current date and it's formatting it to just the year. And then you're saying, all right, also inject the site.name. And so that's where you're getting that dynamic data from. So that's not static. It's going to automatically change the year, automatically keep the site name updated, yada, yada, yada. This is a good one. For taxonomy templates, is it a bad idea to share taxonomies between different, totally unrelated CPTs? Because there isn't a way to have a different template for the different CPTs of the term. I think I know what you're asking. It depends on the site. I'll give an example. I'll try to give an example. Let's go back to WordPress for this so we can see what we would normally see. Okay, so I have posts which have categories. and I have services. If my service, now I don't have any categories for my services, but let's say there was a situation where I am blogging, obviously, about the same topics that I also have services for. Like my services belong in the same topics that I blog about. Like that actually is probably quite a common scenario, more common than people would think. It's natural that you would blog about the same topics that you have services for or products for or whatever it happens to be, right? So the question is like, do I create a custom taxonomy for services and almost like duplicate the topics, or can I just borrow the post categories for my services? And in that situation, you would borrow the categories because these are like topics for the site, and the topics belong to blog posts, which by the way is down here now, and services. So the way you would do this is you would go into post types and you would go into services and you would say, hey, I want to borrow the categories, which I'm calling topics, right? And now when I go to service, look at that. I'm using the same exact things. And now I can template it. And now you can use logic in the template to perhaps decide whether this is showing blog posts or showing services when you go to the archive page, right? That can be done with conditional logic. And we would have to do a follow-up and yada, yada, yada. But I would share them. In terms of architecture, I would share them. I would not want to duplicate that kind of architecture. Why are you using ACF instead of Etch, CPTs, and custom fields? Because Etch, CPTs, and custom fields right now are proof of concept. They're not, they're for playground usage. They're not for actual usage. Doesn't the dashboard menu become overloaded, competing with all post types, many plugins? You're not going to use this. So let's clarify. You're not going to use this. You access everything from inside of Etch. So when you go to the Content Hub, all your custom post types will be listed here. This is a dev copy, so there's some architectural changes going on for 1.0, which is why nothing is listed here. But all your post types will be listed here. You'd have a table of all your posts and pages, just like you do here and here. And so you can easily get to everything from in here, including the custom fields that you're making, and it's just everything. And then your templates all live right here, and you get a bird's eye view of them. You don't ever, the proposed workflow is you never use WordPress. you don't go look at this. You never see this. You do your work in Etch, and you love your life, and you never see this area right here. Right now, I got to bounce in and out, because it's not fully there yet, right? But you will never have to bounce back in the future. And I would say like the V1 future should be nice and solidified to where you're not bouncing back and forth. You're not looking at this area. What's your opinion? What's your opinion on organizing sites with happy files folders? Happy Files hasn't been updated in Brazilian years, so I would. There's better plugins for right now. Of course, Etch is going to do all that for you. So again, going back into our Content Hub, right? So you have your posts, you have your pages. Everything should already be organized in at a base level because you did CPTs correctly. I don't really think there should be, you're going to be able to sort this table by taxonomy, for example. So all this thing is going to be sortable, filterable, inline editing. You can already do inline editing. Like if I want to change the slug of that page, I just change the slug of that page. Bing, bam, boom, done, right? Everything is inline editable. You can add new stuff here. You can delete stuff here. You can navigate to it here. You can sort and filter the table. It's just, you're not going to have to, you don't need, Etch replaces like 6-7 different types of plugins, like Admin Columns Pro. That's another option that people use. That's not going to be necessary. Happy Files, not going to be necessary. All those things are just not going to be necessary anymore. Worth having a services page instead of archive for client editing. No. If you need something on that page to be editable, first of all, those pages are like, they're essentially for having an overview of the service. I don't, and I'm not a fan of like, we can go on the whole client editing thing, but like, that's not a necessary page for them to edit. They're more likely to just break it. Okay, let's rapid fire some of these. Why is it more correct for the post type key to be plural? I mean, there's going to be people that argue with me about it, obviously, just like they do everything. But if you just think about it, okay, let's look at it from a URL perspective. Now, it says blog, right? It doesn't say post. But if we go to services, all services, let's go to a service. Okay, so if I want to see the overview of my services, I would go to services, and I would see the heading says services, and I would see services. Now, let's translate it the other way. I want to go to an overview of my service, and I expect to see what? Service? And what? One service? What do I expect to have happen here? I expect a pluralization. I expect to see it say services, and I see services, and I navigate to services. And so why the hell would it be singular? WordPress default architecture is singular. But like I already explained, it doesn't make any sense. Can we agree on that? Can we agree on that? Put in the chat. Agree? Disagree? How many agrees do we have to disagrees? How many agrees to disagrees can we get? Can we get like 90% agrees? I know we can't ever get 100. We can't ever get 100. But can we get to like 90%? It won't take years. It won't take years. They told us it would take years to get to a working page builder. And we said a year for static, but in a year you have components that are better than other, you know what I'm talking about. Loops, templating, dynamic data, query arguments, dynamic data formatting, functions, nested loops. I mean, we could just keep going down the list of things that the whole project wasn't supposed to exist, by the way. Remember that? It was vaporware. I'm tired of hearing that it's going to take years. It's going to take years. It's not going to take years. It's not going to take years. It's going to be here before you know it. The Content Hub wasn't even planned for year one. It's already in proof of concept phase. Right? This stuff is not, the hardest part of this project, let's be very clear. The hardest part of this project is auto block authoring. Like CPTs, if you compare the complexity of auto block authoring to can I create custom post types and custom fields, make no mistake, if we weren't authoring everything to Gutenberg, the whole entire Content Hub would already be working. With all custom fields and custom posts, all of that stuff would already be there, right? That pales in comparison in terms of complexity. So no, this stuff is not going to take years. It's not going to take years. All right, everybody agrees on the plural. The thing is singular for sure, but it's in a plural. It's in an archive. A fucking archive. You can't have an archive of one. Like, let's go to the library. What do I expect to see? One book on the shelf. Like, it's just the whole thing's empty. I see one. Like everything alludes to plural. So just use a plural. So easy. Okay, 2 questions left that I'm going to answer. There's many more, but I'm only going to answer 2. How do you hide the native blog post type? That's a quick answer. There's a little code snippet to just hide it. You cannot disable it. Do not disable it. You'll fuck up the architecture, but you can hide it so it doesn't exist. Just Google, how do I hide the default post type in WordPress? It's like, there's a bunch of, it's just copy paste snippet. The post inherits the index template or copies it. We already did that. How to add archive templates for custom post types. And we already did that. We did that. Go back and review on the stream. We definitely did that. Could you refresh our memories about how to export a pattern from Etch to JSON? Yeah, super quick, super easy. Go to edit with Etch. If I want to take this heading right here, this section right here, let's say it was hero, right? Right click, copy. That's it. Okay. Now go to like, that's what it copied to my clipboard. See? So you can go share that. You can go store it. You can go do whatever you want to do with it. But the minute you right click copy, all the JSON is on your clipboard. And you can go paste it into another instance of Etch. There's the paste right there. Any other Etch install, it'll copy everything in. Classes, JavaScript, loops, it'll grab everything. Is it just a coincidence that ACSS4 also equals error 4? It was a very nice coincidence, Zach. Yes, it was just a coincidence. It was just a coincidence, but it was a nice one. Okay. How are you going to handle security of Etch? There's a lot of stuff going to be included. Well, right now, essentially when we do PHP authoring, that's going to open the door for a lot of security potential issues, right? So what our plan is we are going to implement our PHP authoring implementation, and then we are going to put it through a third party, probably patch stack, full security audit. And they are going to make sure that everything is buttoned up and everything is exactly the way as it should be. And then we'll have ongoing security audits and monitoring. Okay. Last question. Are you worried that it will get too big too soon and difficult to manage in terms of complexity? No, because our dev process is very tight. We have automated testing for essentially like all critical aspects. We release like partial releases week by week by week by week. So literally every piece of progress actually is like tested by the whole community essentially. We have feature flags where you can turn on and off certain features. So if there is, let's say we do release some new major thing, like PHP authoring, that's going to have to be released in phases. So that's going to be likely behind a feature flag that you turn on if you want to test it. And if it, for some reason, like goes haywire and blows your shit up, you just turn the flag off and it all goes back to normal, right? All that code is hidden away inside of a feature flag. And then when it's all nice and stable, and when the security audit happens, we just remove the flag and all that stuff gets integrated back into like the core of Etch. And it's test covered, like I said, and people are testing on an ongoing basis. Every single sprint involves some bug fixes. So we're always making the thing more stable with every single release. And it's good architecture. It's architecturally well built, and nothing's been a problem so far. You know, nothing's been a problem so far. So that is it. All right, I gotta get out of here. I gotta go do some lunch. I'm gonna do dedicated videos on all these things. So when it's like, how do I make my index template? Dedicated video. How do I make my single post template? Dedicated video. I like to do these live streams to just walk through it with people and answer questions and show some stuff and whatever. But there are dedicated videos coming. So every kind of template you can create will have a dedicated video that's here's how to do this exact template. Here's how to do the dynamic data for this exact template, yada, yada, yada. So just, keep an eye out for those. In the meantime, use this as a reference. But more than anything, use these docs. We're putting a lot, like you could see, we're putting a lot of work into the docs. We try to answer this scenario, this data, that data. Here's how to do it step by step. Here's some code you can paste in. Like, use the docs, use the community, and then refer to the videos if you need to refer to the videos. That is it for today. I'm going to jump out. I'll say goodbye to everybody in the chat. Yeah, that's it. Love you guys. See you again very, very soon. Ooh, since we're at the very end, I have a crazy special, cool, exciting, never done before announcement coming up. I'll tease it on social media. If you're following me on social, you'll see the teasers very soon, maybe later this week. It's something a lot of you asked for. It's an unprecedented opportunity. I want to give more details than I actually should give. It's going to involve, I don't even know if I can give that detail. I can't even give that detail. Just keep an eye out for it. It's going to move fast, though. It's going to move fast. There's not going to be a lot of spots. You're going to want to know about it. You're probably going to want to know about it. What else? There was going to be one more announcement. That's the biggest thing. I had one other thing that I was going to say that I actually could share details about. Now I forgot because the exciting thing got me too excited. Okay, just keep an eye out. Just keep an eye out because there's something coming down the pipe. I've never done it before. And it is something that could become a norm. It could become a normal thing. But we're going to see how V1 goes. We're going to see how we'll call it V1. How about that? We're going to see how V1 goes. All right. I can't tell you right now, but the teaser is coming very, very, very soon. And I think it's going to get a lot of you very excited. That's all I'll say. All right. Later.